malama pono ikaea. Earth and sky, sea and stone, hold this land in sacredness. Earth and sky, sea and stone, hold this land in sacredness. E malama ikahea, e malama ikahea, e malama pono ikahea, e malama ikahea, e malama ikahea, e malama pono ikahea, earth and sky, sea and stone, hold this land in sacredness. Earth and sky, sea and stone, hold this land in sacredness. E malama ikahea, e malama ikahea, e malama pono ikahea, e malama ikahea, e malama ikahea, e malama pono ikahea, earth and sky, sea and stone, hold this land in sacredness. Earth and sky, sea and stone, hold this land in sacredness.
Thank you for that. Well, it's time to introduce our self-described joy and peace peddler, Craig Villarrubia. He is a student and a teacher of A Course in Miracles. He spent many years seeking fulfillment in worldly pursuits. Then Craig realized that fulfillment can only be found in truth, and it would be the teachings of A Course in Miracles, and more importantly, the application of its principles that would lead to a revelatory experience of love. He's devoted to awakening and sharing the joy of the Course in Miracles. He is the founding director of two nonprofits, Miracle Share International and the Center for the Waking Mind, both of which aim at extending the teachings of A Course in Miracles and non-duality. And he's also credited with producing, directing the documentary A Course in Miracles, Enlightenment or Bust. So please welcome Craig Villarrubia. Craig, you're on.
I'll do a quick sound check. Okay, there we go. Hey, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's always nice to be with you guys here. And today's like the first day that you are gathering as a group in the church. So I feel very honored to be the first person presenting for the year. And I appreciate these invitations because I selfishly come to talk to you about some of the things that I experience and I learn with the Course in Miracles. Because in coming here to share with you my experience, I also build the conviction in my mind to these principles and to ultimately what it is that I want, which is peace of mind, and certainly that's the focus and the purpose of my existence as I consider my life. And I am a Course in Miracles student and teacher, and I just love to share the principles of this course because nothing has shown me nothing has shown me other than these principles a means or a way to experiencing peace and happiness. So today I'm going to share with you a little bit about the course. And in case you don't know about the course, it's a really thick blue book that I hold up right here. It's broken up into 3 books within this one book. There's a text, which is the theology, and there's a workbook, which provides 365 lessons, one for each day. And then there's a manual for teachers or anybody who wants to go deeper into the course and the course principles. And although this course is very thick and has a lot to say, there's really just one central theme. And that's the theme I'm going to talk about today. And it is really the one thing, despite there are over 500 pages and really dense text talking about a lot of stuff, it's really one simple message. And it's a message about forgiveness. And today's title of what I'm going to talk about is really a lesson within the course, one lesson that says, forgiveness offers everything I want. But the course takes an approach that's very different from what most people think of in terms of forgiveness. So, most of the world thinks of forgiveness as a way of pardoning someone for what they've done. So in other words, someone has seemingly done something against me or betrayed me, and I'm going to be the bigger person and I'm going to forgive them. But I will not forget, right? It's this idea of I'm going to do it because it's the quote unquote right thing. I'm going to do it because it somehow, perhaps in the minds of some, is going to make me look good in the eyes of perhaps God, or because God wants me to forgive. And that's not the forgiveness, although there's nothing wrong with that. That's certainly a stepping stone. That's not the forgiveness that A Course in Miracles is talking about. And it's certainly not the forgiveness that I'm talking about in terms of forgiveness offering everything you want. So the first thing we have to really make clear before any of this will make any sense to any of us is to ask ourselves, what is it that we really want? Why do we gather here in a church? Why do we need or seemingly want to go on a spiritual pursuit? What is it that we want? And I would guess, based on my own experience, that really what we all want, regardless of what we think the form is. So we may say, okay, I want a lot of money. I want to heal from something. I want peace in the world. I want the whales to be saved. I want coronavirus to go away. I want mask mandates to go. Whatever it is that you want, the form doesn't matter. What really matters is at the end is you want peace of mind, right? You want the money, the wealth, so you don't have the worries of financial problems. You want the healing of a disease because you want peace of mind in your existence. You want longevity in your life. You want peace of mind. And so it's very important that we come to this conclusion. And you can take anything, any example of what it is you think you want, and it all comes back to what you think that's going to give you, whether it's an achievement, whatever it is that you think you want, it's going to always come back to some sense of feeling of peace or happiness or joy. So when we understand that, we can immediately take out the middleman. We can immediately forget about the form and just get to, like, how do I find peace? How do I find joy in my life? In everything that I do. I'm not talking about temporary peace. The Course makes it very clear from the onset that you are an extension of your Creator. So you are an extension of God. And if you don't like the word God, you're an extension of Source. You can, whatever the word is, it doesn't matter. But you are an extension of what created you. Therefore, you share in the same attributes of what created you. So if those attributes of your creators is unconditional love, then you are unconditional love. If your creator is all powerful, then you are all powerful. So the aim is to, someone mentioned this is a year of recovery with and I believe you're talking about recovery from the whole coronavirus thing and so forth. And symbolically, I would say it is a recovery. Really, everything's a recovery of your true self, of your true nature, and what you are as an extension of your Creator. And so, what forgiveness does is it brings you back, and it does so by a simple idea of surrendering. So I talked about what forgiveness is in most people's mind in this world, this idea of pardon. What A Course in Miracles says is forgiveness is a way of watching without judgment. It is a way of overlooking. Forgiveness, and even if we listen to the song that was sang a little earlier, if we listen to the reading that was said or spoken earlier, if we listen to the A Course in Miracles prayer that was shared, which was, you know, tell me where to go, what do I need to do? What do I need to say and to whom? It's a prayer of asking for guidance. What we're talking about is letting go, leaving at the altar. We're talking about a serious surrendering of what you think is happening. In other words, forgiveness is to withdraw all judgment from what it is you think you are seeing and perceiving. When we heard the reading, and forgive me, I don't remember it exactly, but part of the affirmation was about seeing a world of grace. It was about seeing this perfection in the world. That is the reality of how your Creator sees the world. You, as an extension, have the right to see the world that same way. If you don't, then you have a perceptual problem. And forgiveness offers the opportunity to correct that perceptual problem. So let me just read a little bit of the Course to give us a little bit of an insight of what it is that I'm saying. So if we look at lesson 121 from A Course in Miracles, it says, forgiveness is the key to happiness. Here is the answer to your search for peace. Here is the key to meaning in a world that seems to make no sense. Here is the way to safety in apparent dangers that appear to threaten you at every turn and bring uncertainty to all your hopes of ever finding quietness and peace. Here are all questions answered. Here is the end of uncertainty ensured at last. I mean, isn't this a world of uncertainty that we live in? Isn't it really the basis of all the suffering? Regardless of what side of the coin you're on, wear a mask or don't wear a mask, hoax or no hoax, we're both on the same, just on the same coin, just on the opposite side. Think about it. This idea that you're free because you don't have to wear a mask is the idea that you're upset because you have to wear a mask is a fear of someone controlling you. The fear that you have to wear a mask is a fear of the disease. It's the same, it's both fear. So forgiveness offers an opportunity to remove yourself from the battleground and watch without judgment from above the battleground, releases you from the turmoil. Forgiveness is to watch without judgment. It is complete surrender to whatever's happening in the moment. When we, the tough part about surrendering and withdrawing from the judgment and from being in the turmoil is this need, this inherent need by conditioning, by a thought system. And this thought system insists that you have an investment in the conflict. And so forgiveness offers a way out by withdrawing all judgment. And isn't that what Jesus' main teaching was judge not? And so the unforgiving mind is full of fear and offers love no room to be itself, no place where it can spread its wings in peace and soar above the turmoil of the world. The unforgiving mind is sad, without hope and respite and release from pain. It suffers and abides in misery, peering about in darkness, seeing not, yet certain of danger lurking there. It's certain. It can't see, but it's certain. It sees a world of darkness. The unforgiving mind is torn and with doubt, confused about itself and all it sees. It's confused about itself because it assumes that it is the body, it is the personality, it is the self concept. It assumes that it's the self concept. Now, everything that I've said earlier, what I was saying as an extension of source, an extension of your creator, you are not the body you think you are. Now, that is certainly hard to kind of take in for a moment, but what I'm basically saying is that you are spirit and we've forgotten our way. And so this is a teaching to help us recover our true identity. The unforgiving mind is torn with doubt, confused about itself and all it sees, afraid, angry, weak, blistering, afraid to go out, afraid to stay, afraid to waken, afraid to go to sleep, afraid of every sound, yet more afraid of stillness, terrified of darkness, yet more terrified of the approach of light. It's more terrified of the approach of light. What can the unforgiving mind perceive but its damnation? What can it behold except the proof that all its sins are real? The unforgiving mind sees no mistakes but only sins. It looks upon the world with sightless eyes and shrieks as it beholds its own projections rising to attack its miserable parody of life. It wants to live, yes, yet wishes it was dead. It wants to forgive, yet it sees no hope. It wants to escape, yet can conceive of none because it sees sinful everywhere. Isn't that awful? But isn't that also the truth about how the world can be seen from an unforgiving mind? You watch the news, you don't even have to watch the news. You just listen to conversation on the street. You don't even have to listen to conversation in the street. You have to look at our relationships. You don't even have to go far. I sit here sharing this teaching with a selfish interest in raising my conviction level in these principles. In my own experience, I am not without those problems as well. I deal with those problems too. I recognize those problems in my life. The only difference is I can say my conviction level is so high that I can no longer be in a situation where I am the victim of any suffering. I can't. Knowing that I am an extension and a son of God or a child of God. The way to peace and happiness is to recognize that under no circumstances are you at the effect of what you perceive. In truth, you are not at the effect of what you perceive. I'm not saying that we don't perceive things, and I'm not saying that we don't have an opinion and we don't have a perspective. Those may still be there. What I'm saying is we have to, if we want happiness, if we really want to understand what forgiveness is about, we have to admit that we are potentially, at least potentially, I will say ultimately, but for now, at least potentially admit that with everything that every opinion that we have and every thought that we have, we're probably wrong about it. Because the premise of everything you see and believe is based on this idea that you're a person independent of everything around you and that you're different from the others. So if you go around the world thinking you're different, if you go around the world thinking that you're separate from everything, then everything you build upon that idea is going to be wrong. It's a house of cards. It will fail. It'll always fail. That's why this description of an unforgiving mind, and an unforgiving mind is basically a mind that thinks it's right. That's basically it. A mind that thinks it's right is a mind that will suffer. I promise you that. And the reason why, and the Course of Miracles says so eloquently, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Can't have both. Because being right supports a self concept. And if you are not the self concept, then being right only serves to support a false idea. And if you look at all your perceptual problems, at the core of it, it is a belief in an idea or belief in a scenario and a belief in a conclusion that you may or may not be right about. And so the lesson continues. The unforgiving mind is in despair without the prospect of a future which can offer anything but more despair. Yet it regards its judgment of the world as irreversible. It does not see it has condemned itself to this despair. It thinks it cannot change, for what it sees bears witness that its judgment is correct. Uh-huh. There you go. You know, the funny thing is the mind is always trying to prove itself right. So if you have a belief or an idea, you can bet the mind is searching to support that belief or an idea. You know, this was eloquently shown to me a long time ago when another teacher was telling a story. And I grew up. I have an older brother, and has this ever happened to you where you lose something, you can't find something, and you're like, I can't find the scissors, and someone says, oh, it's in the drawer. It's not in the drawer. I just checked. It's not there. And they come, they open up the drawer. There they are. Now, why is that? It was because you already decided they weren't in the drawer. So when you opened up, the last thing your mind is looking for is the scissors in the drawer. Because what? That would prove you wrong. I go back and forth with my partner all the time because I'm always the cause of every problem. He's already established that in his mind. So of course I'm the cause of everything. And me too. I'm sure I have my own beliefs about what he is and what he does. Forgiveness is calling for us to let that stuff go. The whole point of the prayer that was shared, where should I go? What should I do? What should I say? Is to be able to, it's really saying, I don't know. Something beyond my thinking. Please step in and show me. Pause. Just pause. Just pause. Forgiveness is acquired. It is not inherent in the mind, which cannot sin. A sin is an idea you taught yourself. Forgiveness must be learned by you as well from a teacher other than yourself, who represents the self in you. Through him, you will learn to forgive the self you think you made and let it disappear. Thus, you return your mind as one to him who is yourself, who can never sin. The one that the Course is referring to, the who, the self, in terms of the Course, would say the Holy Spirit. Christianity will also use that language. But if you don't like that language, we can say inner guidance, something within, something deep within knows what's true. That voice is lost through the layers and layers and layers of conversation, scenario making, blaming that goes on in our minds throughout the day. And so, what we're trying to do in surrendering to the altar, into asking for guidance, into seeking unconditional love, is we're asking in our attempt for forgiveness, we're being willing, simply being willing, because it says here, forgiveness is acquired. It's not inherent in your mind. So even if this idea is new to you, please note that it's not something that's gonna that you're really able to do. That's why when we think about forgiveness in terms of pardoning, that's the best that we can do. We need to go deeper, and the only way to go deeper into this forgiveness is a willingness to surrender. You hear let go and let God all the time, right? You're giving up. And if any of you know, and I'm sure everyone in this room at some point in their life, and if you haven't, you're lucky. You've hit rock bottom in some way or shape or form, where relief only came the moment you said, I give up. There is relief in that. Because all of a sudden, the self concept that you were trying to protect up to that point is gone. There's no more need to hold on to it. No more. There's the payback that you were getting from holding up that idea of yourself is gone. The willingness to let go is extremely healing. How about letting go in every moment? The willingness. I got to take my mask off. Oh, got to put it back on. Okay. I am unaffected by whatever it is. Now, I want to make clear because I don't want anybody to think that I'm perfect at this. I come to you and I share this to you as a student, but a student recognizing and acknowledging the truth of that. I am unaffected. Imagine unaffected by the world around you in any way, shape, or form. I work in the wood shop a lot. I do a lot of woodworking, and this has probably happened to many of you. Sometimes you're so into what you're doing, and then you leave. Oh my God, I cut my hand. Who knew? Does that happen? So you're so focused, and you're like, oh, I got a big bruise. Where did that come from? But that's what I'm talking about. Imagine going through the world in such a way. It's not, children do this very well. From one moment to the next, you can see they have a forgiving mind. From one moment to the next, they forgot what just happened. They can be terrorized and crying. And then all of a sudden they see a toy. And it's like, it's like, what? You see? Animals. I just got a puppy dog. It's so cute. The innocence. There's power in innocence, the symbol of the lion and the lamb. There's power in both the lion and the lamb, the innocence of the lamb. The dog, my puppy dog, you know, so much wonder in her eyes, so much joy, and regardless of what happened the last moment, and this goes for both dogs. I have a puppy and I have an adult dog. You know, the anger from before for peeing in the room or whatever. There's such a forgiving creature. They come back. They forgot about that. What if we can go about in our daily lives in such a way that everything is new and we don't bring the past into the moment? That we can look at someone beyond what their belief is, whether it agrees or not agrees with our belief. We can look beyond that and be together. Just be without a need to assert what I believe, without a need to tell you how I'm right. Just be. But you have to want the peace that goes along with being more than you want to believe you're right. You have to want the peace. And if you don't, then at least acknowledge that that is the case. Because at least you're starting from a place of honesty. And that's okay. That's freedom, right? That's the choice. That's really freedom, the being. Being. The next lesson in A Course in Miracles 122 is forgiveness offers everything I want. It says, what could you want forgiveness cannot give? Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness, a quiet mind, a certainty of purpose? You see, when you decide that forgiveness is a way of being that you will choose, you've set a purpose in place. Your only purpose is peace. So when anything comes to disturb your peace, you now have the opportunity to address what's preventing you from your peace. What is it I'm perceptually thinking and seeing that's keeping me from experiencing what I ultimately want, which is peace? So now the world has a purpose of helping you unwind your mind to where God and it's his attributes can reveal itself within you and through you. Do you want happiness, a quiet mind, a certainty of peace, a sense of worth, beauty that transcends the world? Most people don't experience the world. Most people experience their ideas about the world. Your experience of the world is your thoughts about the world. If your thoughts about the world are about how wrong and how bad, then that is your experience of the world. But when you are experiencing when your purpose is peace and your being is forgiveness, and your experience of the world is everything that was described in that first reading, where you see a world of grace. And that's the only one I can think of, but there was a whole list of great things you'll see in the world with this idea, with this principle. Do you want quietness that cannot be disturbed, a gentleness that can never be hurt, a deep abiding comfort, a rest so perfect it can never be upset? I'd die for that, not never be upset. All this forgiveness offers you and more. It sparkles on your eyes as you awake and gives you joy which you will meet the day. It soothes your forehead while you sleep and rests upon your eyelids so you see no dreams of fear and evil, malice and attack. And when you awake again, it offers you another day of happiness and peace. All this forgiveness offers you and more. Forgiveness lets the veil be lifted up that hides the face of Christ from those who look with unforgiving eyes upon the world. So, even in the presence of someone who disagrees with you, even in the presence of someone who hates the world, even in the presence of somebody who is so unforgiving, guess what? You'll see the true essence of who they are. Forgiveness lifts the veil. Why? Because we said forgiveness is watching without judgment. So be who you want to be. I can still watch you without judgment. When you think about, people like Mother Teresa or Jesus, these are people who devoted their lives to seeing the Christ in others. Right? It's like nobody Jesus was afraid to confront and be with, the prostitute, the leper, because he did not see a prostitute, he did not see a leper, he did not see the sickness. He saw the truth of who they are, which is the sameness, the love. He had unconditional love. There were no conditions. The prostitute didn't have to believe a certain way for him to get along with her. He wasn't afraid of catching whatever the leopard had. He only saw the truth. And the same could be said about Mother Teresa, the Christ in everyone. There was no judgment on whatever the screen was showing. And in that, in his conviction of what he saw, it changed what the person saw of themselves. Hence, there was a shift in how they saw themselves, one in which was fearful to one in which was loving, from fear to love, and one in which created the miracle of healing. So when we talk about A Course in Miracles, we're talking about a course in changing your world, changing the way you see the world so that your experience of the world is one that is without fear. Forgiveness lets the veil be lifted up that hides the face of Christ from those who look with unforgiving eyes upon the world. It lets you recognize that the Son of God and clears your memory of all dead thoughts so that your remembrance of your Father can arise across the threshold of your mind. What would you want forgiveness cannot give? What gifts but these are worthy? What gifts but these are worthy to be sought? What fancied value, trivial effect, transient promise, never to be kept, can hold more hope than forgiveness brings? Never to be kept, because if you just think of your own experiences in your own life. How often have we been on the treadmill searching for happiness? Isn't it time you got it? There aren't enough things you could acquire. They're not even in, there's not enough knowledge you could acquire that's going to get you what you really want, which is this: peace, your sense of okayness. And so with that, the course offers a curriculum to help unwind the mind in such a way that forgiveness can be a central part of one's being. And I come to you today to share that um, with the knowledge or the experience that within my life, I cannot find a more effective tool to peace and happiness other than the capacity to watch without judgment and overlook. So, with that, I invite you all to the teachings of A Course in Miracles, but more importantly, even if you don't, it's just to remember some of the things that I shared. Hopefully, that'll add a bit of support as we go about the perceived crazy world that we live in. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Craig. That was great. I mean, you, you're so clear in your explanations, or articulate. I don't know, animated. But of course, I'm already a total fan of the Course in Miracles. But I really appreciated that. Now it's time for offerings. We have a coal bowl up in here in front. If you'd like to come up at pass by the bowl one at a time, we can't pass the bowl because of the COVID rules. But you're welcome to come up and put in the bowl your donation. And Jamil, if you could play some donation music for us. And also for those of you at home who are watching, you could go check our website, the New Thought Center of Hawaii.com. And there's links on the different ways to give. And we really appreciate that. We need a little something to keep this program going. And if you can't give monetarily, just give us your blessings. Well, thank you all so much. Thanks, Jamil. Uh, I'm going to make some coming up announcements at the New Thought Center for the Sunday services. You can attend in person or watch on the live stream. You check our website for the link to the YouTube channel for New Thought. Coming up for the next two Sundays, first on April 4th, we have Linda Boozer, Raising Ourselves to Easter Joy is the topic, and music by Marie Claire that will be live streamed also. And you can watch these recordings the next day or whenever on YouTube. On 4/11, it's Linda telling